So day 2 of open source was the first full day, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but it's a little bit scratchy. Today I headed over to the Framework booth because I heard that Nirav, the founder of Framework, was going to be there, and I wanted to ask him a little bit about the Framework desktop. So I did that. Also gawked at some of their other stuff that they had, like a little 2.5 gig Ethernet module, which I'd like to get one of these and see if I can get it working on other stuff too, like a Raspberry Pi. I love the idea, the concept of modular laptops, which is awesome, and I want to see if their desktop is a really cool product like they've kind of built it to be and can move the needle in the mini ITX space. I would really like to see how they perform in a mini rack, and I was talking to him about maybe getting one of those in my hands at some point. I also went over to the Meshtastic booth. Now, the project that I was going to work on this year was about Meshtastic. But I didn't quite get it done in time for various reasons. I'll have a video talking about that in a bit. But I went to the booth and I brought the Raspberry Pi laptop from Argon One and was showing the Meshtastic network on it. So I was showing, the traffic on the Meshtastic network that was short turbo and how that differs a little bit from the long fast network that's normal. Also, I saw some cool stuff. They had tons of different radios there. They also had this little, I guess like a telegram printer set up, and it was almost instant. Like you'd send a message and then boom, it would print out right away. That was very cool to see. And we also talked a little bit about antennas and RF and cavity filters and things like that. So things that over on the Geerling Engineering channel, I think we'll get into more here and there. And it was funny, while I was monitoring this stuff on the Pi laptop with my Hacker F1, I noticed somebody was like doing frequency sweeps. That's these diagonal lines that kind of go across, and you can see the signal goes across the spectrum. So at first I thought it was weird interference, but it was like this was a regular thing happening. So somebody was doing something there. I don't know if there was an FBI surveillance van or something outside, but to finish it off, I also glanced at the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum just to see how Wi-Fi was going, and it was going crazy. With that many people in that small of a space, there's definitely a lot of Wi-Fi activity, and I'm sure Bluetooth would be the same. Anyway, it was cool just to meet some of the people that I've chatted with online about Meshtastic, and so many other booths too. And right next to them was this really cool demonstration of the grid frequency. Now, in my timing exploration, I've learned a lot about the power grid and how it uses GPS in many cases to synchronize signals so that the phase of the power going into different power plants and parts of the grid is always in sync. And if it's not, you have big problems. Anyway, what you can do with that is, in America, we have, in the United States, we have 60 hertz grid frequency. So you can count on that and literally like build a clock off of it, and it's usually very good. In most cases that will work great. In some specialized cases that might not, but that's something maybe we'll talk about more in the future. I also saw this from last year. I saw this little marble sand thing, but this year the group that was bringing that also had this really cool setup of unconventional data transfer, and it had a bunch of different setups. From I didn't go through all of them. You don't have the time, unfortunately, to do everything at every booth. But I did demonstrate transferring data through my body using these 2 copper plates. And then I also looked at this solenoid setup, which I love solenoids. They're so fun, and the tactile nature, the audible nature of it was great, hearing the bits go across using solenoids. So that was really cool. I also saw, like, you're just walking around like there's a 3D printed robot arm, and there's like, I didn't have time to look at it, and I was pulled away to something else, but it's like, just everywhere you look, there's something really cool. And I also got to stop by I think it's FOSS SF or something. They're basically trying to build their own chip fab and build their own silicon chips and wafers and things like that. And they had a lot of cool stuff going on. And of course, I found a Pi 5. There are a lot of booths where you find a random Raspberry Pi just sitting there. And it's always kind of my little game to see, what things have a Pi, a Pico, a Teensy, an Arduino, or whatever. And sometimes there was none of that. Like a little bit down from the Meshtastic booth, there was this mechanical adder calculator. And it's just all mechanical, and you put in some numbers, you input numbers, and then you crank it, and it adds the numbers together. Such a cool visual demonstration. And meanwhile, while you're walking around, everywhere you go, there's content creators all around. It's great to talk to them, and also I ran into LTT Dan with they brought a giant transparent ratcheting screwdriver, the LTT screwdriver. But around the corner there was an electric hot dog derby, and somebody saw that we were at Open Sauce and said, you need to check this out, because they saw the hot dog touching the AM radio tower video. And so we did, and it was very cool. It's a fun concept. The hot dogs race down the little track, and then whoever wins gets tased. So I don't think they were tasing them in order for people to eat them, but more just for the fun of it, because hot dogs are very conductive. And then, we were walking around, we saw the Open Sauce head that you can see in William Osman 2, his second channel, the saga of that being built. But also outside we saw Paul Bunyan's pocket watch, and basically it's just a giant mechanical wood clock. Very cool to see, and it was fun to see the gears moving internally and the precision of all of it. And I got to see that this is the Python code that was used to generate the gears for all the ratios to get the clock to move correctly. And mechanical clocks always fascinate me, although right now I'm in the rabbit hole of digital and that kind of thing. Mechanical is still the same thing, it's just applied in a different way, the measurement of time. And going around that aisle, there was also this whole section of a bunch of rockets, rocket fuel, rocket learning. This was one of the coolest demos I saw. It was just a little thing, a little box with some blue tape and some markings on it to teach you how PID loops work. And it's a concept that's not that intuitive if you've never worked with it, but this made it a little more intuitive. I still am not good with robotics and that kind of thing, but this was a very cool demonstration of how PID loops work. And there's a ton of these things where it's like the person who built the thing knows it probably better than a lot of people, and they built a thing to make it so that other people like me who don't know it can understand it a little better. And I just love that aspect of sharing what you learn and sharing in different ways that might help you learn better. There was also a Raspberry Pi at this booth as well, controlling a rocket. So always fun to see those everywhere, like I said. And then I saw this thing over here, and we ended up talking to this group a bit from one of the universities that they have all the control electronics for a rocket fuel propulsion system in a Craftsman toolbox. And apparently the toolbox is held up to fire, to water, and all kinds of things. So that was kind of fun. And walking down that aisle, there was also this little cowboy hat wearing rocket, along with some demonstrations of how fuel is sprayed into the nozzle to get full combustion. And then there were some CubeSats. I'm working on a CubeSat video right now, and one of the things that I learned that was really cool and interesting is you can use the metal tape as antennas for these CubeSats, because you can roll it up, and then when you deploy it can pop it out and it goes back into its shape. This the metal has its memory, so it goes out into an antenna shape and it makes a good antenna. So this was cool to see all these. They even had like a little simulator for sunlight that was running off a Raspberry Pi Pico, so that they can train like how to position the CubeSat and how to get the right amount of power and all that kind of stuff. And then I found Jeff Peterson, the robot, the actual robot, was there talking to people. I said that the name was spelled a little bit differently, I think, than the right way to spell Jeff. But here's the controls for that. The great thing about this is whenever there's something interesting, you see it and you can talk to the person who made it, and they can talk to you about all the little details about how they made it and why it's a certain way or why it's broken in certain ways. It's great to see all those stories. And of course, while we were walking around there, we ran into the Dalek again. Very cool. I didn't get to talk to the creator. Maybe tomorrow I'll run into him and get him in a moment where he's not entertaining like swaths of people. And we came back around to this Atto pile or Atto pile or something, the one that has the Compute Module 5, and we talked for a bit, and their software is basically like a way to write code for PCBs. Like you can write code and it will turn it into a PCB. This one was designed as a dual CAN bus Pi, so you can get two CAN bus I/O ports off of a Raspberry Pi Compute Module 5. That was cool, and they made this cool 48-channel battery pack simulator, so you can simulate the voltages coming off batteries and short circuits in batteries if you're building your own battery pack for like a car or something. So some cool stuff there for sure that I'm glad that I went back to their booth and got to see their stuff. I also saw something that my son and wife would enjoy, a periodic table of the elements booth that is just talking about periodic table of the elements and how to teach it, I guess, in a STEM fashion. They even had like mini golf for periodic table of elements, so that was fun. And going around inside, there's just like booth after booth after booth of just fun projects or interesting projects or just completely ridiculous. But real life ad block is something that could be very practical someday when everything is an ad everywhere. But you'd just basically be in a black hole, I guess. And then they had there was these dot matrix printers in a line printing Balatro cards, which I've never played that game. But if you wanted to play it, you could have your custom printed cards, put them down, the AI would recognize it, play the game. And every one of these projects, there's somebody that was like building it and putting their passion into it. Like this chess robot that literally you can play a game of chess and it will just pick up the pieces and move it. But even better than that, it will kind of make fun of you and tell you how many moves it will take until it can defeat you. Which for me, I didn't even want to try it because I know I would lose in about 10 seconds. But my son would probably do a little bit better with that. But Harvey the chess robot, yeah, that was a fun booth. And another one that was wild and crazy was, I forget exactly what it was called, like ridiculous input devices, but I noticed it right away because I saw this pumpkin, and I think I saw, it was here last year, the pumpkin keyboard, playing Minecraft with it or something. I actually attempted this, and hopefully that wasn't actual pee. I hope it was just yellow colored water, but I don't know. And walking around, there's so many people that have these challenge coins. This is kind of I guess a maker culture thing, which is kind of cool. I always forget to like design one and bring one, but this, so far, to anybody that makes these things, so far this is the winner for the most interesting. This is from projectsbyzach.com, and I think it goes one way better than the other, but it's a geared open source thing. Let me see if I can get that. So you can see that it's geared. Here's the back side. Very cool to fit all of that inside of a challenge coin. I know that people are getting extremely creative with these things, putting RFID tags in them and all kinds of fun stuff. Hopefully nobody's put a GPS tracker in one, but I can scan for that with my HackRF. And later in the afternoon, I headed over with a bunch of other way more amazing reverse engineering type people to a panel on reverse engineering, and we talked about our tools, our process, our thoughts, and things on how to get into things, how to learn from them, and how to basically rebuild the things that we find. And there were so many cool things, like going back to the booth with the FOSS SF or whatever it is. This is John McMaster, and he helped me see inside the Raspberry Pi 5 silicon last year, I think it was, or maybe 2 years ago. It's, time is a blur. But he was helping set up this whole spin coating setup. This is an open source spin coater for fabbing your own silicon. And the demo worked there on the floor. He had some lithography setup going, but it was not quite like show ready, so they didn't have it running there, but they had parts of the machine running. It was just cool to see all this. Like, the idea is that we have the technology now to make our own basic so far, but make our own integrated circuits. Very cool idea, and I will continue following the progress of this project over time. I also went back over, talked to Curious Mark and a couple other people at his booth. I went back to the ADSB booth and saw they had everything up and running today. Very cool displays that they had there, showing how many flights that they'd seen and where they were and all that kind of stuff. It's so hard to not spend tons of time talking to everybody. So I only got to see like maybe 8% of the entire floor, and I think in total both days so far I've only seen like 20% of everything. This place is huge. It's awesome. But I finished out the day looking at the open interface KVM, which is a USB KVM. And OpenInterface is making multiple versions of KVMs for sysadmins who need to go around and plug things in. Even this Clockwork Pi KVM, where it's literally like you take the Clockwork Pi, you put an expansion card. The expansion card is a KVM that's built in. Very cool for like having a little thing in your pocket that you can plug into a computer and remote control. I even forgot yesterday, like another part of this event is just the people you meet. So I met Byron, who made the Anyone or Anyone laptop. He designed and built a laptop from scratch on his own, a very inspiring and cool project. I got to meet him here. I got to meet Gavin from Slow Mo Guys. I got to meet Jake from LTT. I got to meet all the awesome creators on the panel that I was on, and Sean Hodgins and Everyday Astronaut, Kyle Hill, Styropower, just so many cool people here that you realize, especially if you meet them in person, that they're not like, it's not just like, they don't just do a thing for YouTube, and they have a consistency of, they're curious and they're interested, and they want to share the things that they learn with other people. And that's, I think, what really attracts people to this event is that ability to learn from other people and to see things and be inspired. Anyway, that was day 2, and it was my throat is still working. We'll see if that's the case tomorrow. But thanks for watching, and yeah, subscribe to the second channel if you'd like. But this channel is more about just doing crazy things, and this is a crazy event that I thought I'd share.